let me tell you where we're at here in Pennsylvania, as I'm trying to silence my phone because people are trying to text me and that sort of thing. In Pennsylvania, I've been mostly focused on what I call wholesale invitation to irregularities, which was all the things that the Supreme Court, the Secretary of the Commonwealth, the governor, and elections officials in certain counties undertook before this election happened. I know that there's a lot of talk out there about the retail end of irregularities. I don't use the term fraud because I think the term irregularities is a better term to use. The irregularities, if you're talking about Dominion vote switching, if you're talking about all, dead people voting, that sort of thing, all that wouldn't have happened had we not had the wholesale invitation to irregularities that we had here in Pennsylvania. Now, in the last week or so, my neighboring legislator, Representative Frank Ryan, and another group of us have tried to dig down into state data to compare ballots cast and counted by quantity to the quantity of legal voters who voted. And we have found that overall, there's a 200,000 voter shortage in relationship to total ballots cast, and 170,000 voter shortage in comparison to the total votes cast for president. There you can see it on your screen there, 170,830. When you have a presidential race that's decided by 80,555 votes officially as certified, 170,000 votes is incredibly significant. It's twice the difference. So this is the first time we as a legislature have focused on the retail end of what happened before the election. And we've documented at least 24 actions we as members of the General Assembly have taken in order to attempt to address this, from filing lawsuits ourselves and being turned away, to filing amicus briefs, whether it's the Kelly case in the U.S. Supreme Court, the Texas v. Pennsylvania case, and it's in the Supreme Court, other cases that we filed amicus briefs on. We have written letters. We have a letter from 59 members of the House and 5 members of the Senate begging Congress to object to Pennsylvania's slate of electors. And that was signed by 6 members of the House Republican leadership team here in Pennsylvania. I sent them another message today and I asked them, were you serious about that? Because if you're serious about that, then the only thing that we can do next is exercise our plenary power under the U.S. Constitution to reclaim authority over elections to appoint electors for president and vice president and decertify the slate of electors who have been ostensibly sent to Washington, according to our Secretary of the Commonwealth and the governor. There was a point in time where I believed that we would find enough retail irregularities in Pennsylvania's election process that we could actually go ahead and name Trump electors and appoint them and send them to Washington. We have not come to that point. However, we have come to the point in Pennsylvania where I can tell you with all sincere honesty, I have no idea who won, because we cannot match up the ballots cast to the numbers of voters who voted. This is like a checkbook. You cannot have more ballots cast than you had legal voters voting. And you need to have a snapshot, a static snapshot of a database of voters who were legal on November 3rd, who actually showed up at the polls, mailed in a ballot, did an absentee ballot, or voted provisionally, and had those ballots counted. And you need to check them off just like a checkbook. You got to reconcile that. There has been no reconciliation. And what we've found is the closest thing we have to a reconciliation in Pennsylvania is our statewide uniform registry of electors, which is also called the SURE system. When those are the numbers that we got from where we got that 170,000 deficit. And what is apparent to me is that there is not in existence a static snapshot of all the legal voters on November 3rd. And that is very problematic because it means we can't reconcile our checkbook. Because what's happening now, although the Secretary of the Commonwealth said, well, 4 counties haven't uploaded all their data yet, and that's fine and well and good. But here in my own personal county, Lebanon County, very tiny county, 5th class county, 140,000 residents, 92,000 voters. Our county claims that they are done uploading data. However, I have many, many precincts in my own legislative district where the checkbook cannot be reconciled. And I have one specifically troubling precinct in my district where there are 50 more votes counted than voters voting. So I'm going to my local board of elections and I'm going to try to sort that out. And I especially picked that particular precinct because on election day, I got at least 3 phone calls from concerned citizens who told me that there was somebody working the polls that day who allowed people to cast a ballot who did not appear in the poll book. That's the poll book is the one you sign when you check in and before you cast your vote and before they give you a ballot. So I'm going to ask my local board of elections to look into that. I know that it concerns them too. The other thing I fear is that we're going to find out that before counties certify their election results, they are only counting votes. They are not matching the count of votes up to the legal voters who actually voted in the election. If you're sending certified data to the state, I would think that you would want to make sure that every ballot you cast has been counted. I fear that our counties here in Pennsylvania have not done that. Therefore, the statewide results have been certified based on unverified checks of legal voters. That's where we're at in Pennsylvania. I am attempting, just based on the illegality of what the Supreme Court, the Secretary of the Commonwealth, the governor, and election officials in certain counties did before the election, I am attempting to have our leadership here in the Pennsylvania House view this election as a failed election because it is an unlawful election, because the Supreme Court, the executive branch, and county officials do not have any authority over elections to select electors for president and vice president. They certainly have authority over the rest of the election process. And you wouldn't want me to have authority over my own election process. But their argument, I believe, is that because these elections happen coincidentally and they're on the same ballot, that somehow the state legislature has ceded, diluted, or given away its plenary authority over elections to appoint electors for president and vice president. And my argument, which I believe is a constitutionally sound argument, is that even though we did that and combined it with other elections for convenience, we never ceded our plenary authority. One of the other roadblocks we have to exercising that plenary authority, and it's almost a moot point at this point because we're only a couple days away from us meeting anyways, is that some of our leaders did not believe that our plenary authority over elections for president and vice president extends to our ability to meet outside any restrictions within our state constitution or our state statutes. I believe that having plenary authority over the elections for vice president and president is a federal authority, and under the supremacy clause of the United States Constitution, it absolutely trumps any constitutional restriction or statutory limitation on our ability to meet. Again, I say that's a moot point at this point because we are meeting on January 5th to be sworn in. And I'm hoping that we can get a floor vote on January 5th
after we've been sworn in, so that we can in fact take that vote. That's where we're at in Pennsylvania, and where I'm at, that is been my mission.
For the last few weeks, I have a resolution ready to go. I'm not sure we even need a written resolution. I believe we may be able to even just get up and make a motion to decertify the electors, take a vote, and be done with it. Transmit that to Congress, the Vice President, the Governor, the Secretary of the Commonwealth, and say, we have spoken and we are done with this issue. So with that, that's my explanation of what I've been doing here in Pennsylvania. So I'd be happy to take any questions in a couple minutes I have left with you here.